Welcome to our first SoundSysters Feminist tutorial. Today we're going to teach you about analog mixer GL2400 Ellen Heath. Keep tuned for more tutorial to come. Okay, so now I would like that we're going to have a look on the back of our mixer, and basically this is the main part of everything that come in and come out. In this mixer we have 24 channels of input, what means that we can connect inside the mixer 24 things. I call the mixer the brain. The brain is analyzing the information, and as we can see it looks very frightening and confusing, but in the end it's just a copy-paste of the same thing. So I would like to have a focus on channel number 1. Here we have a direct output, insert, line in, and mic in. And as we can see, it's exactly the same in the 24 other channels. I would like to talk a bit about XLR. Unfortunately, in the sexist world, XLR called female and male, but we SoundSysters call it XLR sender and receiver to understand the signal flow. So obviously here we have a XLR mic in receiving information. So as we can see, it's all exactly the same, duplicated all the way along, but we have one different section that not look like the others, and obviously this is usually the master section or the output or special effect section. Here we have monitor out if we were working in a studio and we want to have some monitors. Here we have matrix. If we want to matrix the signal, we have matrix in and matrix out. This is a different level and a different subject we're going to talk later. Here we have some insert if we want to insert the information, and then we have the auxiliary. Auxiliary mean external output. So we have auxiliary 1 to 6, and basically this will be our monitor out to the stage. As well as we saw before, we had XLR inputs that look, XLR receiver that look different, but here we have XLR sender. So in this case we want to talk about something that send out the information. Our main output left and right are going to our PA, to our sound system. We have out mono or out monitor, and we have out groups. The groups we also not going to talk in this basic level 1 video. We're going to come to it later. So before we're going to talk about all the functions and all these buttons, we want to explain something very important. Why we have to first turn the mixer on. The action of turning on the mixer sucks a lot of energy, and it could damage our speakers. So it's very, very important to not burn our speakers. Always turn on the mixer first and last, because just the action of turning it on and off could damage our speakers. So now we're going to connect our signal. I have SM58 and XLR cable. As we know, I'm sending my information in to the microphone and the microphone sending it out, so the XLR receiver receiving the information and want to send it inside our brain. So I will send it inside channel number 1. And now my voice are inside the brain in channel number 1. Okay, so now I would like us to have a look on all the different sections that we have in channel number 1. I want to remind us that it's all look very frightening, all these buttons, all this color, but if we have a very close attention, we can see that it's just all the same, copy paste. This is why I would like that we focus on channel number 1 that we just connect our microphone to. We're gonna go from top to down. Here we have a button of plus 48 volt, and this will be for our condenser microphone or condenser instrument that need a special phantom power. Here we're gonna have polarity. Here we have a line pad. If our signal is too loud or unstable, we can press it and it's gonna be padded. A bit the same like a DI box. Here we have our main knob, the knob of energy. This is our gain. We are basically deciding how much our door gonna be open and how much wider we're gonna come inside. So how loud the energy and the electricity gonna go inside of this channel.
The gain controls how much to amplify the signal that coming into the channel.
If we wanna like low cut all the different things that we don't really need, but we're not gonna low cut, for example, a bass guitar or a drum bass, because this is the bass that we actually need. But for voice, we don't need all these frequencies that disturbing us. Then we're gonna go on of our basic EQ analog. We have the high pass filter. It's more or less. Everything now is on 0. Then we have the high mid. So it's basically which frequency we want to control and how much, if we want louder or less. Here we have the low mid, again, which frequency we want to manipulate, how much. And then we have the low. As well, we have the EQ in, because we're analog, so we basically tell it work or don't work. As we talked before about our backdoors, here is basically what we're sending out. For example, if we have 6 monitors, we want that this microphone will go to monitor 1, monitor 2, monitor 3, and so on. As well, we have the post and pre-fader. So if we want to make the sending action before the fader or after the fader. Here we have the panorama, because our signal is stereo, because we have 2 ears, so we need a stereo signal. So now my one microphone go to the middle, but I could also send it a little bit to the right or fully to the right, a little bit to the left or fully to the left, or keep it in the middle to keep the balance inside. Then we have another important information button, and this is the mute. After we did all our changing and we don't want that the public will hear what we did, we can always mute the channel. But if it's muted, we will not hear it going outside.
Here we have our PFL button, which means pre-fader listening, that we can listen to our signal in our headphones while the fader is down.
For example, we're going to do it now. So we press the PFL, we go to our main door that we need to open, because we want to go out of the room, but we don't know how much. So first we can look now. And nothing is happening. Yeah, Mira. So now, if we look with our pre-fader listening, we can see how much signal is coming out. And basically we can control with our gain how much we want to send from this signal that's coming out to this channel. We can send too much, but then it's going to sound really bad and disturb our speakers. Or we can send about -4, and this will be just about. But again, it's not only about visual, you have to hear the instrument, hear the signal, and decide for your own. So we keep it like that. So this is also, we have here a little pre-fader place that we can see how much. Again, now it's very red, so it's not so good. We're going to keep it like that. Here we have the output section that now basically we're sending to the left-right, that we connect to our speakers, as we talked before, a left-right main output. Here we have sending to groups 1 and 2, and to groups 3 and 4. For example, if we have a drum kit section, we can decide that all the drum kits from different channels will go to group 1 and 2, and then we can control the volume of all of them together. And then, of course, we have the fader. The fader, I call it a corridor that's leading us to the main door out. And this is a very important to understand, that this corridor is function on this basically channel. On channel number 1, that we decide the electricity that we're putting in, and now we're deciding the volume that we are passing to our main door out. Never go above 0. So, as we saw before, we have this corridor of all our different inputs channels, that we want to send basically to our main output. Here, as we saw in the back, we have a special section, and this special section is our output. So as we saw, we have 1 to 4 groups, but we're not going to talk about this tutorial because it's more advanced and it's for drums or different group of instruments. But here, as we saw before, our XLR output sender is left, right, and M. Back in the days, M was as mono or monitor, but we're not going to use it this time. We're just going to use the left, right. A good trick, when you do the sound check, the room is empty. So for me, I always start a little bit under the 0, and I do the sound check in this way, and when the public come, I have enough range to put the master volume up. As we saw before, we can connect our microphone as a one signal, as a mono signal, to channel number 1. But in this case, we want to connect a stereo signal from our phone or MP3 or whatever it is. So here we have this special cable. Here we have a mini jack, and it's stereo. We can understand that it's stereo because we have 2 lines and a ground. What means that these 2 lines give us 2 information, right and left. And in the other side of the cable, we will have an XLR sender, right and left. Red is right, and the other color is left. And in the sound world, it's not really a rule, but left is always number 1 or A. So we can connect left to number 1 and right to number 2. But as we learned before, we have to manipulate and change each channel separately. And it's not so comfortable when we have the same information coming in as a stereo signal. For this case, this mixer gives us the possibility to have a stereo channel, what means that we have one channel, one fader that control both input. In this case, we have a different
output.
And this is a big jack, right and left. Before it was black and now is white. The main thing that always will remind is the color red, and red mean right. We connected right to channel 16 and left to channel 16, and the mini jack that we learned before to our signal source. As well, I would like to show our output. To hear what we did, we connected our master output left and right. What means that now all our information from all the different doors of our big house that go via the corridor will go to our main door out. And now let's test it. So now, after we check everything, we can bring the signal and pass it through the corridor to our main door out. We hope you enjoyed this tutorial and more to come. Follow us, SoundSysters, Berlin.